Hey everyone, I'm Matt here with Musical Theatre with Matt, and today we're going to be talking about Finishing the Hat, which is from Sondheim's Sunday in the Park with George, and is basically about George kind of coming to terms with the fact that he's really married to his work as opposed to other distractions like Dot. Perfect, so let's just kick things off straight away, and today we'll be looking at Mandy Patinkin's performance from the original 1986 production. This Mandy Patinkin's really cool. He was in Princess Bride.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
He's also been in a couple of famous American TV shows as well. But yeah, really good actor, really good singer, so this should be a lot of fun.
Mademoiselle, you and me, pal.
Okay, so basically the first couple of lines, these Mademoiselle's, you and me, pal, second bottle, it's basically just a reference pretty much to Day Off, which is the song that's come before this one. And George is basically just repeating what the people who were in his painting had said in those previous songs. So, for example, Mademoiselle's is said by the soldiers, and he's just swiping through his paintings and revisiting them, pretty much.
Bonnet flapping, yapping, roof, chicken, pastry.
So yeah, these kind of like dog-like sounds is basically him just going through the paintings and seeing the ones that he's done of the dog. Well, the dogs, rather.
Yes, she looks for me. Good. Let her look for me to tell me why she left me, as I always knew she would.
So this is where the song gets quite interesting, as it kind of delves into George's relationship with Dot. So yeah, when he says the lines, yes, she looks for me good, that's all great. But it's really important when he says, let her look for me to tell me why she left me, as I always knew she would. I had thought she understood, and they had never understood. Now, this basically ties into George being a very kind of, well, at least my interpretation is that he's quite an elitist person. He thinks that he is significantly better than everybody else because he has this ability. And by saying pretty much, as I always knew she would, I had thought she'd understood, but they have never understood. He's kind of like categorizing Dot back into this big group pretty much of people. They can't understand. I'm too complex. I'm too new. They will never understand. And he's kind of discarding Dot. And I personally think he's doing this because he really does have feelings for her. It's very easy for him to kind of just say, yes, she's a part of this big group of people that just don't understand and will never understand because they're not good enough, pretty much.
They have never understood, and no reason that they should. But if anybody could.
Now, I think these two lines are really important. This, and no reason that they should, but if anybody could. Because this is, it's in the lyrics, it's, but if anybody could, ellipses. And obviously when it's said like, George is asking himself a question pretty much, but if anybody could, and he thinks about that. But then immediately it leads on to the first saying of finishing the hat. So he's thinking, what if anybody could, but he's snapped out of it, saying, oh, back to work, I have to finish the hat. So I feel like this is the problem with George as a person, and this ties into why Dot left him, because he's really unable to think about and consider the things that aren't his work. He kind of shelves them to the side and calls them unimportant because he's just completely focused on his work.
Finishing the hat. How you have to finish the hat. How you watch the rest of the world from a window while you finish the hat.
Okay, so now we're basically in kind of like the verse. I guess it's as close as you can get to a verse in this kind of song. Finishing the hat, how you have to finish the hat, how you watch the rest of the world from a window while you finish the hat. So I think this line, how you watch the rest of the world from a window, is really interesting because it again ties into this whole musical, or the first half at least, is really about George's inability to do things. He's always so focused. For example, in Colour and Light, he has to finish the hat. He can't go to the Follies with Dot. So how you watch the rest of the world from a window, how he sees himself as isolated from everybody else. So he doesn't watch the world. He's not standing there watching it. He's away. He's watching it through a window, as he says. And for example, also when he's in the park, he's not doing the park things. He's not fishing. He's not really taking in the sun. He's there. He's doing his work and he's finishing the hat. He's watching the rest of the world from a window. And I think that's a really interesting line there from Sondheim.
Mapping out a sky, what you feel like planning a sky, what you feel when voices that come through the window go until they distance and die, until there's nothing but sky.
So this part here, mapping out the sky, what you feel like planning a sky, I think these couple of lines are really just George thinking of like how he feels when he's painting, how he's really comfortable. That's what he does. So he's very happy doing that. And then what you feel when voices that come through the window go until they distance and die. He's really just considering it's so good when voices come through the window, but they go and they don't distract me, and I can finish the hat and I can do what I love, which is his painting.
And how you're always turning back too late from the grass or the stick or the dog or the light.
So now we're into this kind of like chorusy section. So in this, it's and how you're always turning back too late from the grass or the stick or the dog or the light. So my interpretation of this line is basically George is kind of ashamed of himself that he's always coming back to his work too late. He's being distracted too easily, and basically he goes off and he's maybe thinking about Dot, and that's really a distraction for him. He sees that as a distraction, and he feels, oh, I'm always turning back too late to the grass or the stick. So basically his painting, he's always turning back too late, and he's ashamed of that. He would rather put more work in and be more focused on his painting as opposed to Dot.
How the kind of woman willing to wait, not the kind that you want to find waiting to return you to the night, dizzy from the hat.
So for these lines, how the kind of woman willing to wait, this is basically George saying, it's in reference to Dot, obviously, and Dot is not the kind of woman that's willing to wait. So when he says how the kind of woman willing to wait's not the kind that you want to find waiting, the kind that he wants to find waiting is Dot, but she's not really willing to wait. And this is really like George's conundrum, I suppose. He loves Dot, he loves his work, and it's just really difficult for him to juggle those things.
Coming from the hat, studying the hat, entering the world of the hat, reaching through the world of the hat like a window.
So basically, yeah, the chorus bit kind of ends and we go back into this second verse kind of thing, which is studying the hat, entering the world of the hat, reaching through the world of the hat like a window. So this is quite an interesting little section here, because I think the most important line in this section is entering the world of the hat. Because this is George basically saying when he goes to paint, he's in his world of painting. And this world is certainly disconnected from reality or the true world, I suppose. For example, he's in his own world when he's in the park. He's not talking to everybody else. For example, in Finishing the Hat, the first song of the show, George is in his world. He's not really talking to Dot. He's not really responding to the things that she's saying. And this is, this is why George finds it so difficult to get in relationships and be personal with other people, because he's constantly in the world of the hat or the world of his painting.
Back to this one from that, studying the face, stepping back to look at the face, leaves a little space in the way like a window, but to see, it's the only way to see.
So this little section here, studying the face, stepping back to look at a face, I find it's really important. It's probably one of the most interesting lines of the whole song, because this kind of summarizes how he feels and how he relates to people. So here we have studying a face, stepping back to look at a face, leaves a little space in the way like a window. So this is basically in reference to George. To create this beautiful art that he does, he has to step back. He has to remove himself, because it's the only way to see, as we hear later. And this is why George has, again, such a problem, because for him to do what he loves, for him to do what he feels he has to do, he has to step away. He has to step back from people, essentially, people like Dot.
And when the woman that you wanted goes, you can say to yourself, well, I give what I give. But the woman who won't wait for you knows that however you live, there's a part of you always standing by, mapping out the sky.
So now we're into basically the climax of the song, this kind of second chorus, which is, and when the woman that you wanted goes, that section. So basically, obviously, the woman that he wants that has gone is Dot. And basically, yeah, he's saying, oh, you can say to yourself, well, I give what I give. Like, I can't, I'm only prepared to give this much. I'm only prepared to take this much time out of my art or do this. But then, yeah, this, another kind of like summary of George's psyche and how George thinks is, but the woman who won't wait for you knows that however you live, there's a part of you always standing by. So obviously the woman who won't wait for him is Dot. And he's kind of come to terms with the fact that she knows that no matter how much he does, like no matter how much she cares about him, no matter how hard he tries to remove himself from his work, he will always come back to it. He is always standing by, mapping out the sky, creating his work, and finishing the hat.
Finishing a hat, starting on a hat, finishing a hat. Look, I made a hat. Where there never was a hat.
So these last couple of lines are really important in telling George's story. So, finishing a hat, starting on a hat, finishing a hat, look, I made a hat, where there never was a hat. So I basically, my interpretation at least for look, I made a hat is, at least in Mandy Patinkin's performance, is he's essentially boasting, look, I made a hat, everybody look, this is something beautiful, this is something that I've created. And especially in Where There Never Was a Hat, I feel like there's a sense of aggression in Where There Never Was a Hat. So he's basically saying, I did this. There was nothing before and I've made this beautiful thing. And this ties into George really thinking, well, I can create these beautiful things, but people don't care about me, so why would I give people things? And I think that's another really interesting part of George as a character. There it is. That's finishing the hat, kind of analysed. So obviously there's some really, we learn a lot about George as a character, how he's unable to separate his work and his love life. And that makes it really difficult for him to relate to other people like Dot. We also learn that he's quite a selfish person. He kind of wants things from Dot. He wants her, but he's not really willing to give her attention or time. And we also learn that he's really just quite relatively arrogant. He thinks, I'm making these things, I'm making these beautiful things, why aren't people appreciating me for making these beautiful things? Perfect, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching this analysis of Finishing the Hat. If anybody has any suggestions, just put them in the comments. But it would be great to do some more Sondheim, maybe Into the Woods, or maybe Sweeney Todd. That'd be really interesting going forward. But thanks for watching and see you next time.